The Drums of War, Chapter 51, Honors. In the halls of the fallen, the light of dawn streamed through the eastern windows of the marble monument in golden shafts over the rows of marble slabs, bearing the names of the fallen or standing in silent readiness for a future burden. The sound of Senator Ethan Roberts' footfalls faded into the somber hush of the place as he followed a path well worn into his memory. He wasn't surprised to find a few friends gathered at his destination. They, too, carried memories of the man whose name was graven among those unforgiven fallen preserved forever in stone in their place. "It really is a shame duty doesn't allow us time for a trip to repose," he said, as he joined the knot of aging men gathered around the name of the friend missing from among them. "You and Malik are the idiots who got elected," Captain retired Ian McCoy scoffed in reply, and handed the newcomer a small plastic cup. Senator Robert grinned and said, "My senator deserved to be beaten, and nobody else wanted to be saddled with the job." Senator Malik Saber rolled his little cup between his palms and said, "The call of duty followed us in life after service. Heavy. I envy the peace that you have won." "Peace?" Captain Ian McCoy asked Riley. "Do you have any idea how far I had to go to get away from those journos that the authors starved for stories of daring heroics?" "There is no peace but the grave," Master Sergeant retired Carlos Penna said quietly. "Aye," the group murmured as Captain McCoy unscrewed the cap of the flask. The men were silent as they held out their cups for their shots of cheap whiskey, and they all waited for someone to say what needed saying. It was for Senator Roberts to say, "May God forgive us for making more men like us." "Men like us," his friends echoed, as they tossed back their heads and swallowed the burning cheap booze. Another war was over. More names had been graven onto the hall, but they all knew why there were more blank slabs there. The men shook hands, exchanged hugs, and the knot slowly dispersed. Senator Robert prayed that the men scarred by this war would be spared leading in the next one. However, he knew that it only took one foe to make a war. Aboard the Speaking Softly, Ambassador Sophia Laurent lounged in an enormous armchair and didn't bother trying to make herself appear more dignified. This section of the ship was made specifically to accommodate giants, after all, friendly, blue, four-armed giants who can lend a much-needed gravitas to any negotiations with any of the friendly Xenos that a human was simply too cute to achieve. Besides, they reminded her of being aboard the Among the Star-Tides We Sing, since she had been a Star Sailor vessel. Her co-workers, or maybe more appropriately her counterparts, were likewise in a pose of relaxation. However, of the two of them, only Ambassador Travy didn't look ridiculous. Well, she was the only one of the three large enough to properly fit her seat. And these were her quarters, after all. She and her CIV counterpart, Ambassador Mikhail Volkov, on the other hand, looked like small children by comparison. Any suggestion of indignity, though, was absent, because the three were friends. Friends finally able to pause in their labors to remember that they too are people, and not mere functions of their government. The news they had learned did have diplomatic implications, but that came later. Travy held back tears and sipped on a herbal tea imported from Terra herself. Ambassador Laurent, no, Sophia. She could just be Sophia here and now. Sophia thought there was chamomile, which didn't have any biochemical effects on most Xenos, but most Xenos found quite tasty. It was one of the Republic's major food exports that didn't require pretty stringent controlled substance regulations, and seeing it always made Sophia smile a little. Truth be told, Sophia was more than a little worried about Travy. This was even more deeply personal to her than even herself. "Are you quite certain that you are well? It is less than was hoped for, and I understand that your people have strong traditions about laying the remains of the dead to rest." Travy explained, with a warmth in her voice that only a mother can achieve. "Terrans have gotten used to taking what we can get in that regard," Sophia said. "William was, well, he was at the center of the reactor going critical. What was recovered is more than I was expecting." "Which are you going with?" Mikhail asked as he too sipped on chamomile. "Repose," Sophia answered. "It was important to him that he be buried there. I've never been a fan of star or void burials either," she explained further, as she twisted the gold band on her ring finger almost unconsciously. "But I'm not the only one who lost my husband that day." "It is our custom to do what they call a star burial," Travy said. Sophia thought that she was going to explain further, but her throat was suddenly gotten too tight. "I am hoping Grave Reclamation Services have found enough of his remains for your customs," Michal said softly. "Yevdril was a brave man. He is deserving all honors that can be given. William would have wanted you two at the funeral. Being in the honor guard, well, it was the most deeply satisfying posting of his service. We made friends, and we were getting ready for him to have his life after service." "Aye," Travis softly agreed. "The Among the Star Tides we sing had that effect on Terrans." Sophia nodded and said, "We'll have to work out with what we do with her debris. There wasn't another ship like her in all of Terran history, so we have competing ideas." Travi cast her eyes towards the rear of her quarters, where the cabins were, and said, "Aye, she was unlike all other ships in our fleet. The Star Queen herself, let alone the Lord Admiral Council, do not know what to do." "But she was being your home," Michal said. "I am thinking that what the Republic is wanting, what the Coalition is wanting, and even what your lords are wanting, is not the important thing here." "Indeed. But she was also home of Great George, the man who made your first friendship amongst the stars," Travis said. "A ship like no other," Sophia murmured. "There is going to be a presentation of the colors. I guarantee it. I know the RNI, and the Lost Boys are the most RNI of the entire RNI. They'll want to return the banner where it belongs, since it was recovered." "Not I. That belongs to the Drill paternal line," Travis said. "It shall have to be received by Yovdril. I thank you for the warning." Sophia grinned and said, "Lena Chen, Bugsy Malone, and Emily Sullivan will all be standing beside him. The Lost Boys feel like those people in particular deserve honors." "The Ignition banner for them all?" "No, they've gotten together with the Second Star Rapid Response Group, the Fighting Pixies, and the Vengeful Vanguard." "All groups that we know have prickly honor," Michal said, with a light grin playing across his face. "I'm hearing all of the time how they are saying that they do not need medals or honors, and that they are doing this. It makes me laugh. Even the Vanguard, they have been a formation for less than a year, and already they are doing these things." "The duality of servicemen. Nobody wants to think of what they did as particularly special, and doesn't want what is special to go unremarked," Sophia said, as she twisted her wedding band again. Down the hall, in one of the cabins on a narrow for the Star Sailor's berth, 3 children huddled. The youngest lay with closed eyes, and all 4 arms wrapped around the oldest's middle. Her back rose and fell in a steady rhythm of sleep, despite the swollen dampness of the recent tears on her cheeks. The middle child leaned up against her big brother and lay a protective hand over her little sister's back as she slept. She had no idea that pure relief could make a little kid cry so hard. Yovdril had his 2 left arms coiled around her comfortingly, and he used his 2 right arms to gently shift his little sister's sleeping form to be slightly more comfortable. It was the perfect time for Travi to ask her big brother, "Are you still going to enlist, even now that the war's over?" "Aye," he answered. "It was never about the war, Trey. But honor for honor. We owe them, I know. But I won't be tomorrow. I'm still not old enough to embark, Trey." "I know. I'm scared, Yov." "You can only be brave when you're afraid." Aboard the longshoreman. Life comes at you fast. It were all completely unfair, see? Bugsy Malone and his gang were going to have to go legit. Legit meant no more dodging excise, no more coffee and chocolate runs to the Xenos under the CIPDEI nose, no more raiding shady corporations for cargoes they didn't really need anyhow, no more fun jobs. It were worse than any fate that any of them had ever imagined, see? Worse, they were famous. Famous all across not just the CIP, but the Republic too, which meant that everywhere they went someone would be paying attention to them. Fabulous wealth was hardly any compensation for not being able to have fun no more. All this had happened by complete chance. Not the chance of explaining to a system sec on how they got into the wrong place at the wrong time and somehow managed to haul away a tiny bay of loot, but real, actual, cruel chance. They were big damn heroes, and there wasn't a thing they could do to change that. "Boss," Fingers said, "I think I got it." "Got what?" Bugsy Malone asked as he slumped in his sofa on the ship's rec room. "Privateering," Fingers said brightly. "We've just got ourselves a letter of marque from the Republic, and we can just go after pirates." "Half of our customers are technically pirates, you daft muppet," Knuckles said from behind the copy of Hamlet. "Well, we're famous big damn heroes now. I think that we can forget about them either way." Bugsy Malone took another despondent swig of beer and considered that for a moment. Bugsy the privateer, he mused. It wouldn't be the worst thing, see? More anti-hero than hero. Then he'd still get some action and maybe not go out shitting himself in old age. And we'd still get to keep most of the loot, Snake added with a sudden smile. And we can make port anywhere and not have to worry about being arrested. And pay taxes, Slick muttered darkly. Every last bureaucratic bloodsucker in the Republic and the CIP shall want their pound of flesh from our daring labours. Look, Finger said pleadingly, we tried to just lay low and we found the fucking we sing. If we have to be heroes, we might as well get a say in how instead of doing it by accident all the damn time. At this point, it's go legit or go to jail. Chicks dig the anti-heroes, Snake considered. Did you forget? The shippers think that you're me boyfriend, Knuckles said with a grin. Life were a strange thing sometimes, see? Nobody really knows where they'll end up or who they'll be when they get there. But Bugsy Malone figured that it could have been worse. Well, we gotta go at some weird Republic ceremony. We'll figure things out after that. End of chapter. I'd quickly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.